The annual Thompson family dinner was in full swing at my parents' Victorian mansion, crystal glasses clinking as my brother David held court about his latest corporate triumph. "The merger will put us at the top of the tech sector," he boasted, adjusting his Rolex. "Thompson Dynamics is about to become a household name." My mother beamed at him while picking at her roasted duck. "And to think you built it all from scratch in just 5 years." I took a small sip of wine, hiding my smile. If only they knew that Thompson Dynamics had been hemorrhaging money for the past year, their stock price propped up by increasingly desperate loans. "What about you, Rachel?" David turned his attention to me, lips curled in his familiar smirk. "Still running that tiny startup of yours? What was it called again?" "Valley Solutions." "Vertex Solutions," I corrected quietly. "And yes, we're doing fine." "Fine." My father chuckled. "When David was your age, he was already making headlines. Maybe he could give you some pointers, help you think bigger." My phone buzzed discreetly in my lap. A text from Sarah, my assistant. "Final paperwork ready. Thompson Dynamics board approved the emergency meeting for tomorrow." Rachel never was one for ambition, my sister-in-law Jennifer chimed in, diamonds glittering at her throat. "There's nothing wrong with staying small." Another buzz. "Their creditors are calling in the loans. Stock price dropping." "I just don't understand," Mom sighed. "You had the same opportunities as David. The same education. Where did we go wrong?" I set down my wine glass. "Actually, I've been meaning to discuss something with Dash." "Did you see the profile Forbes did on me?" David interrupted, pulling out his phone. "They're calling Thompson Dynamics the next tech giant." My phone rang Sarah's ringtone. The family turned to stare as I answered, putting it on speaker. "Ma'am," Sarah's crisp voice filled the dining room, "their company is ready for acquisition. The board just approved the emergency sale. Should I proceed with Protocol Alpha?" David's fork clattered to his plate. "What company?" Mom asked, frowning. I smiled, meeting David's suddenly pale face across the table. "Thompson Dynamics." The silence was deafening. "Sarah, execute Protocol Alpha. And have legal prepare the announcement for tomorrow's market opening." I ended the call, turning to my brother. "By the way, David, you might want to cancel that Forbes interview." What are you talking about?" he stammered. I reached into my simple leather bag worth more than Jennifer's diamonds, and pulled out a folder. "Vertex Solutions isn't just a tiny startup. We're a silent giant in the tech world, operating through subsidiaries and shell companies, including the ones that own most of Thompson Dynamics' debt." "That's impossible," David whispered. "We would have known." "Would you?" I spread out the papers. "You were too busy bragging about your success to notice who was buying up your company piece by piece. Too focused on magazine profiles to see the hostile takeover happening right under your nose." Mom's hands shook as she reached for the documents. "These numbers, they can't be real." "Oh, they're real." I took another sip of wine. "Just like the mansion I bought last week, the one next door to yours, David. I think I'll turn it into a satellite office." Jennifer's diamonds suddenly looked very cheap in the chandelier light. But you drive a used car," Dad protested weakly. "Your clothes are custom-made in Milan." I stood, smoothing my simple blazer. "Image management, Dad." While David was flaunting his wealth, I was quietly building an empire. My phone buzzed again. "Should I send the car around, Ms. Mitchell?" Sarah texted. "The board is waiting." "Now if you'll excuse me," I gathered my things. "I have a company to acquire." "David, you might want to start packing up your office." As I reached the dining room door, I turned back one last time. "Oh, and Mom? Remember last Christmas when you said I should learn from David's success?" She nodded mutely. "I did learn from him," I smiled. "I learned exactly what not to do." The door closed behind me on their stunned silence. The next morning I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of the Vertex Solutions Tower, watching Thompson Dynamics stock price crater on multiple digital displays. The wall-to-wall windows offered a perfect view of the financial district, including the Thompson Dynamics building where David was probably having a meltdown. "Ma'am," Sarah entered with her tablet, "the numbers from the overnight Asian markets are in. Thompson Dynamics lost 40% of its value since the acquisition news leaked." I nodded, scrolling through the real-time data on my screen. And their major shareholders? Panicking as expected. We've already received calls from 6 board members trying to secure their positions under the new management. My phone lit up with texts from family members. Mom, please call us. We need to talk. Dad, how long have you been planning this? Jennifer, you can't do this to us. David, this is a mistake. I can fight this. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the live stream of Thompson Dynamics lobby, where reporters were gathering like vultures. David's carefully crafted public image was about to crumble spectacularly. The transition team is in place, Sarah continued. Security has already changed the access codes to their systems. Mr. Thompson's credentials were revoked at midnight. A small smile played on my lips. Has he tried to log in yet? 17 times since 6 a.m. Sarah checked her notes. He's also tried to call an emergency board meeting, not realizing we already control the board. The elevator chimed and my legal team entered, led by James Chin, my chief counsel. Everything's proceeding according to plan, he announced. The SEC filings are complete, and the press release goes out in 10 minutes. What about David's golden parachute? I asked, though I already knew the answer. James smiled thinly. Voided. Our audit revealed multiple violations of his contract terms. He leaves with nothing but his personal effects. My phone buzzed again, a family group text this time. David, this is our legacy. Our family name. Mom, Rachel, please be reasonable. Jennifer, what about our children's future? Dad, we can work something out. I finally responded. The future of Thompson Dynamics is secure, under Vertex Solutions management. Family dinner this Sunday should be interesting. Sarah cleared her throat. Your brother just arrived in the lobby. He's demanding to see you. I turned to the security feed, watching David argue with the front desk. His typically perfect hair was disheveled, his designer suit wrinkled. Gone was the arrogant CEO who'd mocked my tiny startup just yesterday. Let him up, I decided. But first, make him surrender his phone and wait 20 minutes in the regular reception area, not the executive floor. The same reception area he made me wait in 5 years ago when I tried to warn him about his company's vulnerabilities? Sarah's smile was vindictive. The very same. While we waited, I reviewed the complete dismantling plan for Thompson Dynamics. David had run the company like his personal kingdom, prioritizing flash over substance. The technology was outdated, the management bloated, the corporate culture toxic. Their R&D department is actually quite good, James noted, reviewing the files. Buried under layers of mismanagement but salvageable. Keep the engineers, replace the management, I decided. And locate every employee David fired for questioning his decisions. Offer them their jobs back with raises. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Thompson is here. Send him in. David burst through the doors, then stopped short, taking in my real office. His eyes darted from the panoramic views to the elaborate security systems to the wall of screens showing his company's collapse in real time. This is quite a step up from that tiny startup office you showed us, he said bitterly. That was just a front office for family visits, I replied calmly. Like the used car and the modest condo. Image management, remember? Why? He slumped into a chair. Why go through all this deception? Because 5 years ago I came to you with a partnership proposal. A warning about your company's weaknesses. You had me thrown out of your office. I leaned forward. You said, and I quote, "Come back when you're running something bigger than a lemonade stand." So this is revenge? This is business. I gestured to the screens. Your company is failing, David. Has been for months. I'm just expediting the inevitable while salvaging what can be saved. Our parents' dash. Will survive having one less golden child to brag about. I stood walking to the window. Though I suspect Sunday dinners will be rather different now. Sarah entered with more reports. The press release has gone out. All major networks are covering the story. David watched numbly as his corporate empire's death was broadcast across multiple screens. His phone would be blowing up with calls, if we hadn't confiscated it. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now. I turned back to him. Now you clean out your office. Your security access has been revoked, your company email disabled, your corporate accounts frozen. I paused. Though you might want to talk to Jennifer about her recent shopping sprees. Those credit cards stop working at midnight. He paled. The house was purchased with company-backed loans which are now called in. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I hear there are some nice apartments available in my building. The one you called embarrassingly modest last Christmas. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I learned from watching you, brother. Every time you flaunted your success, every time you belittled my achievements, I took notes. I sat back down. Consider it a very expensive business education. Sarah appeared at the door. Ma'am, the Thompson Dynamics board is here for the transition meeting. Thank you, Sarah. I turned to David. Security will escort you out. Don't worry about getting home, I had your Porsche towed. There's a cab waiting. He stood shakily. Mom and Dad. We'll have to find someone else to brag about at dinner parties. I smiled. Though I hear Vertex Solutions CO is doing quite well these days. As security led him out, I called after him. Oh, and David? That Forbes profile? I had them kill the story. But they're very interested in doing one about the silent tech giant who orchestrated the biggest stealth takeover of the year. The doors closed behind him and I turned back to my empire, the real one, not the facade I'd maintained for family peace. On my screens, Thompson Dynamics continued its death spiral while Vertex Solutions stock soared. Sarah brought in a fresh coffee. Your parents are in the lobby. Let them wait. I picked up my phone, ready to begin the real work of dismantling my brother's legacy. They've just discovered their daughter runs more than a lemonade stand. The Thompson Dynamics boardroom fell silent as I entered, every eye tracking my movement to the head of the table. These were the same executives who'd laughed at my warnings 5 years ago. Now they sat like chastened schoolchildren, their futures literally in my hands. Good morning, I said, taking my seat. I trust everyone has reviewed the transition documents? Nervous nods around the table. At the far end, my parents sat quietly. They'd insisted on attending after their 2-hour wait in the lobby. Mom's carefully maintained composure was cracking, while Dad kept staring at the Vertex Solutions logo like it might disappear. Ms. Mitchell, Gregory Peterson, the soon-to-be former CFO, cleared his throat. About our positions. Are all under review, I finished. Though given the creative accounting I've discovered in your quarterly reports, Mr. Peterson, I wouldn't bother updating your LinkedIn profile just yet. He slumped in his chair. Behind him, the massive screens displayed real-time market reactions to the takeover. Thompson Dynamics stock had fallen another 15% in the past hour. Now, I continued, opening my laptop, let's discuss the reorganization. Sarah, please distribute the new organizational charts. Sarah moved around the table handing out tablets. Each board member's face fell as they saw their new position or lack thereof. As you can see, we'll be streamlining operations. The redundant executive positions will be eliminated immediately. I paused, letting that sink in. Mr. Peterson, Ms. Roberts, Mr. Chong, your severance packages are being processed. Please clear out your offices by end of day. You can't just dash, Peterson began. I can and I have. I pulled up their employment contracts on the main screen. Section 7.3 clearly states that in the event of an acquisition, all executive positions are subject to immediate review and termination. The same contracts you used to fire dozens of qualified employees who questioned David's leadership. Mom made a small choking sound. Speaking of David, I continued, his personal items are being packed as we speak. Security is supervising to ensure no company documents mysteriously disappear. Rachel, Dad finally spoke, his voice strained, surely there's room for negotiation. Like when David negotiated with his employees? I turned to the board. Shall we discuss the wrongful termination lawsuits you've been hiding? Or the harassment complaints that mysteriously vanished from HR? The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Sarah appeared with more reports. Ma'am, we've completed the initial audit of their offshore accounts. Excellent. I smiled at Peterson, whose face had gone ghostly white. Interesting reading, isn't it? The SEC will certainly think so. You're destroying your own brother, Mom burst out. No, Mother. He destroyed himself. I'm simply cleaning up the mess. I turned back to the board. Now about those golden parachutes you all arranged for yourselves. The next hour was a systematic dismantling of everything David had built. Every shady deal exposed, every inflated number corrected, every corrupt executive shown the door. My parents watched in stunned silence as their son's empire crumbled. One final item, I announced as the shell-shocked board prepared to leave. Effective immediately, Thompson Dynamics ceases to exist as a separate entity. The company will be fully absorbed into Vertex Solutions. The Thompson name, Dad whispered, will be relegated to history where it belongs. I stood, smoothing my designer suit, no more pretending to shop at department stores. Though I'm keeping the building. It'll make a nice satellite office once we've cleaned house. Security escorted the ex-executives out. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. David's having a breakdown. His keycard didn't work. Sarah, I said, check on my brother. Make sure he's safe. Already done, she replied. He's being escorted out. His company car's been repossessed. Mom tried to get up. I raised a hand. Sit. We're not done. What now? Dad sighed. The family trust, I said. The one you gave David because he was the only one with business sense. They paled. That trust was in Thompson Dynamics stock, now worthless. Mom whispered, our retirement. Safe, I said. I bought your shares last week above market value. You're still my parents. They stared at me, seeing me for the first time. The money's in new accounts, managed by Vertex Solutions. Be smarter next time. Sarah returned. The press is waiting. I gathered my things. Sunday dinner will be at my real house, next to David's old mansion. Be punctual. Dad called. Rachel, how did you do this? While you praised David at country clubs, I was building an empire. While you mocked my startup, I was buying companies across 3 continents. Who told you about power? Mom asked. David, ironically. I left for the press conference. My phone buzzed. David again, we need to talk. We already did, I typed. For 5 years, every time you mocked me. I pocketed the phone, straightened my shoulders and walked toward the cameras.